I don't know how many more of Trump's enemies are going to be caught committing fraud. Today, I have Ross Givens on to go through another Trump hater who will most likely end up in jail. Ross, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, my pleasure, Stephen.
So we've got Letitia James. She goes after Donald Trump, saying that he's committing fraud with real estate, overvaluing stuff. They hit him with a $500 million fine. They try to put him in jail for 90 years. She ends up being one that's committed fraud, not only in New York, but also in Virginia. We've got pencil neck Adam Schiff, who's been living in California, Washington, D.C., Maryland. He's getting fake mortgages all over the place. And now Trump hater Eric Swalwell, the guy that was caught sleeping with a Chinese spy, just yesterday, they announced that he's committed mortgage fraud. Pulte is going to be going after him. What are your thoughts on all of these Trump haters that the one thing they have in common other than hating Trump is they're all defrauding the American financial system by committing mortgage fraud?
Yeah, well, defrauding the financial system is nothing new for Congress, especially that side of the aisle. But yeah, it is funny. I mean, it's like you couldn't even write this stuff. If you're going to be that vocal, go after the most powerful man on the planet, claim his, what is that thing, 20 acres of waterfront, Mar-a-Lago is worth, some crazy, it was like less than a lot next door. If you're going to make such ridiculous claims, you'd think you'd make sure you're not also committing mortgage fraud, right? You think that would probably be not the person you want to do it. And it doesn't surprise me, as you know, I've kind of made a living tracking their stock trades. You want to talk corruption. It goes a lot further than, I claim this is my primary residence, even though I don't live there, or fudging some numbers. I mean, these guys and women have been cheating the stock market for 2 decades. And if there was any doubt in that, their fearless leader, the patron saint of insider trading herself, Nancy Pelosi, the old crypt keeper, is finally hanging up, her trading jacket and leaving Congress at 85. And the nice thing about this is it's forced all the media, even some of the left, to discuss this facts. And when you look at the numbers, I got an infographic I can send you. It's like her total investment return during office, Stephen, was, I think, 16,984%. Like it turns $10,000 or no, 100, every 100 grand into like 17 million. And so this woman who's taken $177,000 salary, rolled that into a $230 million net worth, who's beat every hedge fund manager from California to New York for years on end. It's undeniable that she has been doing this. And of course, as you know, she's not the only one. So am I shocked they fudged the numbers on their mortgages? Not in the slightest.
Yeah, so you've got members of Congress that are literally cheating the financial system, committing fraud to get better rates, better insurance, better percentages, better monthly payments. You've got the White House floating these 50-year mortgages, which end up adding hundreds of thousands of dollars to debt. And then you've got middle-class, regular Americans working 50, 60, 70 hours a week, wondering, how am I going to get ahead? What should I buy? Should I pay down debt? Should I get into the stock market? What should I buy? And then you've got people like Nancy Pelosi. It's just disgusting to me. I mean, even my son, he's 16 years old. We just started him trading in some indexes, some oil stocks, and some real estate stuff. He was saying to me, shouldn't Warren Buffett be taking notes with what Nancy Pelosi is doing?
Yeah.
And I had to let him know, she's retiring. But there's people that are blowing her out of the water, and that's why I like having you guys on. You guys have a training coming up on November 19th at 3:00 Eastern. Tell me about that for just a minute.
Yeah, and we could touch on this later, and I want to give you guys some investment advice that I really hope you take. But the only silver lining to all this is that you can follow their trades. And while it will anger you what Pelosi does and Congress does and CEOs and board members do, this is all public record. And we've been doing this for our members since 2017. This is literally all we do. Just look for when a bunch of these insiders are buying out of nowhere, especially these small off-the-radar stocks. And we follow along. And we've beaten the stock market every single year for 8 years straight. We've beat Buffett every year. And I am no Warren Buffett, but this is available to people. So yeah, I encourage them to come. We do this, as you know, every about 2 months or so. We happen to have one coming up this week. There's a link below. It's free. It's online. It's an hour long. We'll show people how to find this information, what to look for. It will blow your mind, and it is the biggest advantage you can give yourself in the market. But outside of that, you made a really good point, and that is inflation. I don't like reporting this, is going to get worse. I'm not saying this. I mean, number one, they're massively underreporting it. I mean, this is not a Trump issue. This is not a Republican. It's just the whole system, right, is designed like this. And Democrats and Republicans and good guys and bad guys have had their hands in this for 50 years. And it's now this version of what it should be. But the government has proven to us that they are not going to quit spending. You can blame it on one side or the other. You can, whoever you want, but we've tried Republicans. We've tried Democrats. We've tried fiscal conservatives. Trump is a little less conservative on spending. It's all the same. We always spend more than we bring in, to the tune of trillions of dollars. And we've done it for 20 years straight. And so just think about it like your own personal budget. If you made 300 grand a year and you spent 400 grand a year for 20 years straight until you had a $2 million Amex bill, you're not digging out of that hole. And that's what Uncle Sam has done. And every year they say, oh, we need a debt ceiling increase. That's just a raising their credit card limit. And what happens is you get to a point where we are now, where so much of the money that comes in, the government brought in, what, $7 trillion last year, something, total taxes. $1 trillion of that is now going to interest. That is interest on money they spent in the past. And so as the gap, the deficit between dollars in and dollars out widens, that's more and more debt. And as the debt increases, so does the interest. And so it becomes this cycle where you can never get out of it unless you just cut everything, which they'll never do. And so the only way to fill that gap is to borrow and print. And that printing is going to, and you look at gold, it's doubled the last year and a half. Everyone's is opening their eyes to this stuff. So asset prices, that's of course stocks, also real estate, also gold and silver. Some would argue crypto. I'm not a big crypto guy, but those prices are going to rise. And so the mortgage fraud stuff makes sense. Like they're criminals, but they're not dumb. The way to use this is to borrow money in dollars that are losing value and buy assets that are going up in value. Whether you do that with real estate like these crooks have, whether you do that with stocks, whether you do what we do, just follow these trades and put your dollars into somewhere that can grow at, I don't know, we've averaged 30, 40 something percent a year, usually, depending on how you calculate the numbers and all. But like we're getting into these stocks where they are, and they're doubling and tripling or going 30, 40, 50+%. Like that's a way to grow your dollar well. So people really need to be intentional about their investing now. I would minimize it unless it's for things that are going to grow in value. But yeah, asset prices will continue. And I don't want to be I'm not a doom and gloom guy. Like, you know that. I don't, housing is totally unaffordable.
Yeah.
And it's going to get more unaffordable.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a haves and have-nots.
You were telling me off camera before we started that Nancy Pelosi isn't even the best trader in Congress. Who are some of the other people that are, I mean, she's kicking Warren Buffett's butt, but there's other people that make her look bad. Like who are some of the other people in Congress that are just getting crazy returns?
Yeah, so I sent you an image of this, and this is from, who put this together? I think Unusual Whales did, but this is the 2024 performance of the top members of Congress. And just to add some perspective here, I've tagged what Warren Buffett did. Now, he returned about 24, 25%. It's a huge year, right? His billions went up by a quarter. And then you have 24 members of Congress that slaughtered him. I mean, David Rouzer, 149%. Ron Wyden, 123%. Debbie Schultz, 142%. And listen, these are not great stock pickers. Schultz has a political science degree, right? But here's what she does. And again, you can follow this stuff. I'll show you how to do it next week. You come to that event, it's free. She knows information based on the position she's in. So for example, with her, this woman does not buy a lot of stocks. She's not Pelosi. She hadn't bought anything since 2022. And then last year, she goes in on the stock called Rheinmetall. Now, Rheinmetall is a small boutique German arms manufacturer. Okay. So if you're going to buy one stock in 3 years, maybe it's NVIDIA, maybe it's Apple. Rheinmetall. It stands out, right? And then, of course, she's on all these appropriations committees. She's on military spending committees, et cetera. And, things ramp up in the Middle East and all this stuff happens. And the stock was up 187% last year. So, if you just think about it, like the odds that this person who's not anywhere near a professional stock picker buys one stock in 3 years, it triples in 9 months. It's a foreign arms manufacturer where she happens to have a position in defense contracting, all that. She's connected to all that. The odds that being coincidence are just so small, right? And so when we see these, when we see several politicians or insiders buying, when we see them going in really heavy on a little stock that seems odd, we see Pelosi going in with $5 billion in stock options, et cetera, before some piece of Congress. So that's, but yeah, these are, you can see the guys on here. Look at these. There's what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them at over 100% returns last year.
Yeah.
It's just
and if they do get caught using insider trading, they don't go to jail like Martha Stewart. No. They don't go to jail like you and I. They get hit with like a couple $100 fine. Yeah, it's a $200 fine for violating the Stock Act. And we had a perfect case study of that. I think we talked about it a few months ago. There was that investigation of Representative Mike Kelly, and this was done by the Ethics Committee, like 4-year investigation. 200-page report. They got his text messages, his emails. They interviewed his broker. Like, they had this guy dead to rights. He knew about a piece of information. These tariffs are going to benefit a company he was trying to help in his district. His wife goes and buys the stock like the day after they find out it's happening. It doubles, triples, makes a big move. They've nailed this guy. I'm like, finally we got one. All the evidence, and the recommendation at the end of this report, this tens of millions of dollars spent on this investigation was, we believe Mr. Kelly should divest from the stock. It's been sell it. I'm like, that he's already made a bunch of money on. Right. So it's like, why even investigate these guys? Like, I've been sitting there doing this for years, like investigate what they finally do. And it's nothing. And Pelosi, Pelosi's been called out by Trump, by Musk, by the press secretary, by everyone knows she does this stuff. And she's never going to get prosecuted, because when you're the one that writes the laws, you let it happen. So again, I might be the only person you talk to this week that is sad that Nancy Pelosi is retiring, because we have made some money off of her stock pick, Stephen. And don't worry, there's plenty of other swamp rats just like her. And this extends to corporate guys as well. When the CEOs and the board members and the VPs, all that, you can see it within 48 hours. So if you got half the board of a little $2 pharmaceutical company in the middle of stage 2 clinical drug trials, all piling into a stock, I'll show you how to see it. And we've done this over and over. And it's not 100%. Nothing is. It could be coincidental, but oftentimes before really good news, and these stocks make huge profits. And so, when you look at a period where things are going to inflation's going to keep going, stuff's going to keep getting more expensive, you need to find a way to grow your wealth. And whether that's real estate, which is, a big bite, this is very easy to do, and we show people how to do it. So I hope everyone comes to that event. It's free. It's online. Anybody can attend. We're going to send out our most recent stock pick with all of our research to everyone who even registers. So I hope a lot of you guys come out to that. It's going to be really eye-opening. Yeah, no, that's amazing to me. So I'm still grateful that Pelosi is retiring. I think she's been horrible for the country. Yeah. It's time to let these dinosaurs just go back, take care of your grandchildren. We get it. You won. You went from zero net worth to 200 million. The rest of us are a bunch of just schmucks that don't deserve to have money and wealth and grow. But, as you mentioned, there's a lot of other people in Congress you guys can track. There's a lot of people. Now, just in the last couple minutes together, so you were saying that you and your team, you guys are monitoring these stocks. And if you see that all of a sudden the CEO, the CFO, they haven't bought their own stock in 2 or 3 years, they start buying hundreds of thousands of shares or hundreds of thousands of dollars, like that's a big green light going, okay, something big is about to happen in this. Like if the owner of NVIDIA suddenly was like, I'm going to dump $1 billion into NVIDIA. He's not putting $1 billion of his own cash because he expects to lose. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, and everyone tries to make investing more difficult than it is. And I used to be a VP at JP Morgan. I know this game in and out. These guys need you to think. But at the end of the day, like, it's ownership in a company. If they sell more stuff, do more profits, get more dollars in, it's going to go up, and vice versa. And so stocks move not after the fact. They move in anticipation, right? So every company, whether you're talking about NVIDIA or Walmart, they assume they're going to make this much money. They're going to grow sales by this much. They're going to sell this many chips or waffles or whatever the heck it is. And the stock is based on that. And so when these companies report earnings once a quarter and it says, oh, they did even better than we thought, our numbers are way off, it's worth way more, the stock shoots up. If it's a pharmaceutical company, it's going to be, oh man, that drug they're testing to cure, type 2 diabetes showed 91% success rate. They're going to make billions. The stock triples, right? And so these news type events are what cause the big and fast move in stocks. And the reason they cause those moves is because no one knew about it until it came out, and everybody reacts at once. But there are people who know about them. And the CEO knows when they're going to get bought out at an 80% premium. The CFO knows if they're going to crush earnings report. He filled out the freaking earnings report, Stephen. Of course he knows. And so it's like, I try to tell people, and nothing's 100% in investing, but it's really like a heads I win, tails I don't lose situation most of the time, because the odds that all the top executives, the board are putting in, as you said, hundreds of thousands, often millions of dollars into their own stock at market prices right before they say the drug trial failed, or the earnings are a flop, or that, we're closing 200 stores. It just doesn't happen very often. So it's usually like, all right, well, maybe it was coincidence, so they bet on something didn't happen and the stock just kind of holds and give or take 5%. Or, oh, they were trying to take advantage of this news. The stock is up 40 and 50. We had one last month that's up 100% already. We've bought stocks that have gone up over 1,900% in the past. And so you're just all you're trying to do as an investor is get yourself into a position where you have an asymmetrical trade. You got a lot of upside and limited downside. And if all the people inside that know that company best are buying, odds are it's at worst not a bad time to buy, right? You're going to be okay. And then you're also taking advantage of the situations where they do know something, whether it's a Pelosi buying NVIDIA before she passed the CHIPS Act to give $50 billion is going to shoot the sector up, whether it's, when these guys buying an arms manufacturer before they pass a big weapons deal. You're getting in front of that. And so it's essentially a way to be fed inside tips, 100% legally, 100% ethically. And at least when it comes to these politicians, the way I view it is, we're paying Nancy's salary. Least that old crypt keeper could do is pass us a few stock tips here and there, right? So I believe we're owed these as American taxpayers. But yeah, it's really simple. How to do it, what to look for. It's all free. All the databases are free. Yeah, I need to kind of guide people through it. So I do the training sessions, but the idea is drop dead simple, and anything could happen. But we got 7.5 years of proof that this works.
Okay, that's amazing. Okay, so Wednesday, November 19th. 3 p.m. Eastern, free training on how to do that. Ross, thank you so much for coming on. This is amazing news about another Trump enemy, probably going to jail for committing fraud. I want to see Letitia. I want to see Adam Schiff, but also just helping us understand what to look for when it comes to these companies that have big breakout opportunity. Hey, thank you so much. I know it's the weekend. I hope you have a great rest of your weekend.
All good. Thanks, Stephen. Good to see you, buddy.